Kimmel's right. Trump has been desperately trying to convince anyone who'll listen that Democrats are responsible for the shutdown and that it has nothing to do with him trying to hide the Epstein files. The gaslighting has reached a fever pitch as Trump cuts off the supply of food to children, families, senior citizens, etc. But Mike Johnson...
Covering for this president is like putting makeup on a melanoma. Not only unsightly, but it's dangerous. I'd see that everybody's a hypocrite because everybody's imagined themselves standing there with his head.
Kimmel had receipts with him. Carrey arrived equipped with insanity, and whatever it was, Trump brought it. Collectively, they destroyed any last sense of competence in the Trump age by transforming political mockery into performance art. It's no longer even a roast, it's a humorous autopsy of the ego. One uses humor to skewer, while the other uses chaos to paint. Trump, however, is still preoccupied with applauding himself and asking why the audience is making fun of him, not with him.
Before millions of low-income Americans are set to lose their SNAP benefits, Trump flew to Mar-a-Lago for a big Halloween bash with a Great Gatsby theme, which is a theme you would select only if you've never read The Great...
With Modern Times, he criticized capitalism without a conscience. And that's what we have now. We have capitalism without a conscience. He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal dehumanization.
A return tour wasn't necessary for Trump. He stayed on stage the whole time. Jimmy Kimmel begins where the mayhem began. The guy who made politics a showcase for his own abilities. He requested on cue, complete with standing ovations. Trump made a profession out of faking to terminate employees. Why not allow him to try employing them instead? America reasoned. Since someone referred to reality TV as genuine, this was the largest misconception.
We're working hard to beat Trump at his own game. He's been posting these funny things like this, showing Trump as a baby, and it does seem to be getting under the president's skin.
He doesn't have what it takes, tell you that. Slimy guy. He's a slimy one. Maybe that should be his nickname. Slimy Newscomb, right?
Jim Carrey enters the picture. As the most dedicated method actor in the world, Trump portrayed the powerful guy in a film that was never funded. Carrey claims that listening to him discuss leadership was like to seeing someone try out for the presidency at a mall community theater. He spoke in a manner akin to a guy reading his own Yelp evaluations.
He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils: hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power. We are fighting those same evils. America, in the United Kingdom, across the globe. And we need to be clear, shamelessness is not and will never be a superpower.
Jimmy Kimmel recalls the early days when Trump's self-confidence was so loud that it could be measured using the Richter scale. The guy believed that laws were only mood swings, scandals were narrative twists, and regulations were recommendations. Kimmel jokes that Trump's cabinet sessions resembled the least credible job in the world, rather than leadership briefings.
You have F. Sharp Fitzgerald lapping it all up with his sidekick, little Marco Rubio. Look at Marco Rubio. It's rare you get to see a photo of someone at the precise moment their soul exits their body. There were all manner of colorful outfits at the party, including this guest who showed up in a prison jumpsuit. It wasn't a costume. Turns out it was a wealthy donor who came straight from Rikers Island.
Jim Carrey continues by drawing a comparison between Trump's administration and a strange picture, one of those marvels of a melting clock. But in this case, democracy is clearly visible. Carrey envisions Trump asserting that the turmoil is contemporary art while standing proudly in front of it. He claims that the individual may claim to be a fireman while carrying a match through a burning building.
We're in a tough spot. It's a very, very divided world, and those on I guess you'd call it the left side. I just call it the sensible side. Is, we're sitting there watching this nonsense happen, and people come out and talk about it like we're.
Jimmy Kimmel then delves into Trump's distinct style of communication, in which each utterance was a contest between hyperbole and ambiguity. He repeated catchphrases as if they might become policy, treating press conferences like open mic nights. Trump didn't want responses, Kimmel notes. He was hoping for cheers. The nation's issues weren't riddles to be solved. They served as show props. He failed to provide answers. Ratings were supplied by him. Without missing a beat, Jim Carrey depicts a guy who believed that humility was a mistake and empathy was a sign of weakness. He claims that Trump may seem to be trying out for his own movie while standing at a platform surrounded by crises. Carrey chuckles at Trump's constant expression. It was the expression of a guy who believed he could interact with the world as a mirror. Every choice was a performance, and every failure was a try again. Carrey states, "If delusion had a logo, it would be embossed in gold." Jimmy Kimmel turns his focus to Trump's fixation with appearances. He was not the country's leader. It was curated by him like an Instagram feed. Everything was exaggerated, framed, and filtered. Kimmel joked that he most likely believed international policy to be just an influencer partnership. The individual was more concerned with his appearance than his actions. Kimmel speculates that he is the only president who would think of declaring an emergency in order to rekindle the trend.
Jumpsuit. It wasn't a costume. Turns out it was a wealthy donor who came straight from Rikers Island to thank Trump for the pardon. You know, throwing a party at your private golf club where the theme is rich white people, hours before millions of Americans are set to lose their food assistance, might be the Trumpiest Trump move of all time. It felt like the last big bash before the Epstein files come out. The great Fatsby weighed in on the SNAP funding fiasco on his Twitter platform, Truth Social. He wrote, "I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government."
The spiritual humor of it all is picked up by Jim Carrey. How Trump offered déjà vu while claiming destiny. Each controversy was a louder, less plausible version of the previous one. Carrey compares him to a magician who always pulls the same rabbit out of the same hat while claiming it's brand new. Even the rabbit wanted it out at the end. Trump was not a capable leader. He was an illusionist who pretended that chaos was a tactic. Jimmy Kimmel then focuses on the contrast inside himself. A truth-teller who was averse to honesty, a populist who lived in pen dwellings, and a millionaire who claimed to be every man. According to Kimmel, it takes skill to speak so much and remain silent. The individual might leave the country frowning while holding a news conference on openness. The wetland was not drained by him. He put in mood lighting. The philosophical twist is added by Jim Carrey. Trump served as evidence that notoriety does not equate to leadership. With improved illumination, it's simply noise. He governed America like a marketing campaign, according to Carrey. However, the phrase was constantly altered based on the viewers. It had nothing to do with government. Without self-awareness, it was improv. Everyone is cringing throughout this kind of performance, yet they are unable to turn away. Carrey smirks, saying that Trump made failure sound patriotic and turmoil seem staged.
It is the mark of a villain. Kidnapping children is not what great nations do. Almost half of America at this moment believes there is a sinister deep state diabolically plotting to what? Give them health care? What is the sinister plan here?
Jimmy Kimmel analyzes Trump's interpretation of collaboration in a technical manner. Members of the cabinet were not co-workers. They competed in his continuing reality program. Every meeting, according to Kimmel, begins with a theme song and concludes with a loyalty test. It seems that the person who gave him the most recent praise influences policy choices. The national agenda was really a mood board of complaints, Kimmel joked. Under Trump, the White House became into a content studio rather than an institution. Jim Carrey delves deeply into his persona. He claims that the whole Trump administration was like seeing a caricature of itself. The stuff, the protests, the chants. Everyone became engrossed in the film, which was akin to a sequel that nobody requested. Carrey envisions Trump sitting by himself, signing caps for approval, while muttering to himself, "They'll thank me someday." He claims that Trump's belief in it is the tragedy. The guy misinterpreted noise for leadership and marketed turmoil as confidence. Jimmy Kimmel returns to the topic of the economy. Trump handled the national budget like monopoly money while claiming to be a businessman. Each deficiency served as a story surprise. Each tax reduction is a gift to oneself. According to Kimmel, he ruled in the manner that a gambler believes he is aggressively, noisily, and disastrously planning. The individual believed that a hotel contract might be used to negotiate economic recovery. He just adjusted the math when the figures didn't add up.
Health insurance. He wants them to eat, but Health insurance, no. And today we learned that the Trump administration is only going to fund about half the monthly food benefits families on SNAP get. He wanted to cut all their benefits, but a judge ruled that they have to pay at least half, and so they're doing that. We're on day 34 of the government shutdown now. Trump won't even meet to figure...
Jim Carrey then looks at the cultural repercussions. Everyone became an unwelcome extra as Trump transformed politics into performance art. Carrey envisions future historians debating whether to classify his administration under performance studies or governance. The archives will need a disclaimer, he chuckles. It's possible that some of this truly occurred. Carrey claims that policy wasn't Trump's biggest export. It was incredulity. Jimmy Kimmel takes aim at Trump's interpretation of loyalty. It had nothing to do with values. It has to do with being close to praise. Trump didn't surround himself with advisors, Kimmel jokes. He had reflections all around him. Those that didn't agree vanished. The Oval Office became a funhouse mirror where his image was the only one that counted. Even the White House walls, according to Kimmel, most likely experienced second-hand shame. Jim Carrey explores its psychology, Trump's need for attention, and his incapacity to distinguish between being respected and being seen. Carrey compares him to a street performer who continues to juggle long after the audience has left. He is terrified by the stillness. He is sustained by the laughs. However, the medicine is the acclaim. Trump had no desire for authority. His goal was to always be relevant.
We have a president who started out when the country was together and had a wonderful leader, and he is tearing us limb from limb, destroying every institution.
Let's talk about this Donald Trump, even though we don't want to. Let's bring it on the panel for this.
He's a car salesman. He's a used car salesman.
Absolutely.
And he's, he didn't make America great again, but he did turn back the odometer. So who knows what the hell is wrong with us?
Jimmy Kimmel recalls the rallies as if they were fever dreams. Lights were blazing, crowds were yelling, and Trump was acting like the lead singer of the most bizarre rock group in the world. He made no mention of togetherness. Division purchased tickets from him. According to Kimmel, seeing such demonstrations was like witnessing democracy on a karaoke night. Off-key, noisy, and unavoidable. A teleprompter glitch might be turned into a 30-minute self-sermon by the guy. The cinematic element is added by Jim Carrey. The closest thing America has ever had to a live-action cartoon was Trump's presidency. There were sound effects to every policy. There was a theme music for every controversy. Carrey claims that Trump's word would be the whole truth if politics had bloopers. He chuckles at Trump's misinterpretation of chaos as charm, as if the Constitution were only a prop in his performance. Jimmy Kimmel focuses on how ironic Trump's legacy quest is. It was statues, not history, that the guy desired. Chapters, not context, were what he desired. It's poetic, according to Kimmel, that he will be remembered for what he shattered while looking in the mirror, rather than for what he created. Every controversy, tantrum, and late-night outburst is recorded as tragic comedy rather than tragedy. Despite his desire for glory, he simply erected a monument for himself.
This is Trump's idea of dignified aesthetics, so now Trump's planning to bring in a new group whose tastes align more with his. He's bringing in the architect from the Cheesecake Factory, Flavor Flav's orthodontist, and the plumber from Cribs to add a chocolate fondue fountain to the Lincoln bathroom. The problem is, Trump thinks this is his house, which it is. When you stay at an Airbnb, you're not allowed to blow out a wall. He's not even a renter, he's a guest in the, he thinks he's OJ, he's actually Kato Kalin.
Jim Carrey keeps up the sentimental joke. Trump altered the audience in addition to politics. Carrey highlights how the nation learnt to laugh instead of yelling. He was not overstated by satists. They recorded him. Everyone else became the laugh track, and he became the satire. It's uncommon to see someone so devoted to their own story that they begin to think the special effects are genuine, according to Carrey. Jimmy Kimmel connects it to his persona. He asserts that power does not corrupt. It shows that Trump's presidency was more of a personality test that the country kept failing than an administration. Kimmel envisions the Founding Fathers attempting to amend the Constitution to add a sense of humor provision, while seeing this from above. The last shot is taken by Jimmy Kimmel. Trump received repeats instead of his fantasy of eternity. The guy who once attempted to leave his mark on American history wound up appearing on late-night TV's blooper reels. His legacy is not unchangeable. It is constantly repeated in memes, punchlines, and comedies.
Brought back my 8-year-old self. It's been a gift from God. It's like literally like brought me back to 8 years old, where I used to sit in my room. Trump is toast.
Yeah, man.
And so you just kind of digest the news of the
It's
day.
an affirmation.
Robert Mueller.
Robert Mueller putting the squeeze on the president.
Kimmel notes that Trump's earlier incidents reappear like ghosts from previous seasons, each time a new issue emerges. History books don't mention him. It moves between teleprompters and monologues that are delivered with incredulity and flawless comic timing. Kimmel makes a joke about how Trump's real monument isn't a wall or a skyscraper. It's the collective eye roll of the whole universe. Because in Trump's case, immortality comes from repetition rather than quality. He didn't create history. He turned into a historical replay that is impossible to stop. It's the type of stardom you suffer rather than achieve, according to Kimmel. The sort where every error turns into a meme, every boast a little, and every denial a pretext for an endless joke. Comedians didn't have to magnify Trump's limitless collection of self-parody. It was an unintentional but magnificent gift. Kimmel joked that by just existing, the guy essentially created half of the decade's gags. His presence continues to linger like background noise in every political conversation, even after the stage lights have lowered. A laugh track that has no idea when to quit. Because humor is not erased by history, it keeps it intact. The applause is more enduring when the performance is more ridiculous. More than anybody else, Trump ensured that we never ran out of content. His time as president was more than a single chapter. It was the first episode in a brand new genre, absurdity in politics. For all the wrong reasons, he made government noteworthy. With his half-mad, half-prophetic smile, Jim Carrey delivers the encore. In years to come, he envisions Trump continuing declaring triumph in front of a room full of mirrors, while practicing speeches for an imaginary audience. Carrey sees him walking in his own mirror, giving fictitious news conferences to fictitious journalists, certain that the adulation will continue. Carrey claims it's not tragic, it's poetic. The guy who used to command attention from everyone is now a performer for echoes.